Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 53 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we're going to be doing some oil sand processing, and then from there, process the oil products into things we could use. Enjoy. So we're going to be building our setup kind of all the way out here. So to prepare for that, we should try to build and bring along the machines that we need ahead of time in order to handle this. Approximately 30 miners, 15 liquefiers, 10 refineries, more liquefiers, steam crackers, and that sort of thing. So I will get all these things built and then let's drive over there. When the system is low on stone, the stone bricks kind of disappear from here because it's only set to get it up to 1,000, but then it empties everything out. I kind of want to change that. Where the enabled condition is if it's over 1,000. And this one is if it's under 2,000. So now it'll collect a small amount of bricks in there. Since it's hard to see on the map, let's walk out there first. Find where it is. And then run some power poles over here with some lights. There we go. It's kind of funny looking. But it's oil sand. It also mines very quickly. And there's no way we're going to fit 30 miners on this. But let's get what we can on here. So the infinite oil sands requires steam and the regular one does not. But it looks like they're pretty close together. It's kind of hard to tell the difference. So I'm just going to put the regular oil sands on the list here. I'll still mine these, the infinite ones, because it uses steam and that's easy enough. Got a decent amount of miners on there. So this is, in theory, going to produce quite a bit. 2 red belts worth of ores, so let's just put 2 red belts here, even though we're not really going to max it out. But we'll have the 2 belts there as if it was going to be maxed out. Hey, the sun's coming up just in time to check things. Go. It produces very quickly. Let's see, it's hard to say exactly how much steam we might need for all of these. So I'm just going to hook it up to the steam boilers used in the cracking process and just have an overflow valve. So anything that's extra that we don't need can flow here to do the infinite ores. So these sands come out. And then they go into 15 liquefiers to get turned into crude oil. Let's just make that 16 since it's an easy number. So let's grab another liquefier. And you can just have it in a straight line here. Just grabbing from the top. I'll move it over here and then use robots to place them, but let's see. Oil sand liquefaction. A red inserter will do for each one of these. So do a long-handed. And in doing so, they will grab from that belt right there. And it also creates some residuals, which can go up in that belt there. Then if we copy this whole thing, and flip it down here, push it up there. These inserters are going to reach over to each other, but that makes it a little tighter. Because I want to keep these to be long-handed inserters. I don't want it to be a a short pickup to a long pickup, because that decreases the total output of an inserter. So you want to, if they're a long inserter, you want them to stay a long inserter. So this one grabs from over here and brings it in, and then this one grabs from here and brings it in. Oh, and as it turns out, it lines up. Well, in that case, I'll leave it where it is here. That was convenient, so we wanted 16 of them. So put that there. Okay, let's clean up these belts and everything. And we need to hook up the steam. Looks like that'll work just fine. And put an overflow in here to give priority of the steam to these units right here. Let's see, we'll worry about the connection of the residuals and steam and all that, because we're still going to be producing more residuals and we still need more steam. So the next step here is taking this crude oil and putting it into 10 refineries, which is going to break it down into mineral oil, fuel oil, naphtha, and more residuals. Let's try to make this compact again. So we'll put 5 on top and then mirror it down when we get all the pipes figured out. Oil refining. We have to have them spaced because these inputs are different on this side, so the pipes would touch and mix. We didn't take care of that, so if you're unfamiliar with how to pipe all these in as relatively cleanly as possible, just do 1 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 2 and then 3 3 3 3 3. It looks like we're going to run out of undergrounds here, but then you just go across at the tops and hit each one. And on the bottom we can just do something like that. Pretty simple. How many total residuals are we going to have? Oh, we're actually going to have 18. 18.4, which means we'll need a red belt. But those can stay yellow. But by the time they get here, it'll need to be a red one. We can have that go through there. The yellow inserter is more than enough for this. Now that that's connected, we can pick this up. Put it down. It won't let us flip it. Sadness. So we'll just place it right there. Okay. Now we just need to connect the pipes from each side. So we can kind of go in over the top here to make it look nice and square. I don't know if this is going to reach. Not quite. Which means we're going to need to have one like somewhere around there. And then those are all connected. And they can be linked with this over here. Okay. Let's pick that up. And put it in a nice spot. Looks like these lights are not great here. So let's alternate up, down, up, down. Let's see, how is this going to fit here? So let's space it out a little bit and put it maybe right there. Okay, let's get these residuals hooked up. Looking good. And then at the end of this chain, I don't think we have anything we can do with residuals quite yet. Yeah, I think we need blue science for that. So we're just going to have to store it for now. Let's store it in the biggest possible building we have. The warehouse here. Because we don't really know exactly how much of it we're going to acquire. But what we do know is that we are not going to be processing it anytime soon. So let's just get the biggest building possible to minimize any inconvenience of having the system clog up. And I think I do like these AI industry buildings better than the Angels ones. They have a nicer progression to them, and I think they just kind of look nicer. They also require a lot more resources. Like 200 steel for that is significant. And so I think from a material standpoint, they're more balanced than Angels is. But let's just put a big old building right here. And run all the byproducts in there. Okay, so the oil needs to be hooked up. Looks like it will just barely make it. I'm going to leave these as two separate systems. It'd probably work if they were connected together. But sometimes you might get a little bit of feedback, so I like to have them separate like that. Though, let's disconnect them, just so we can check each system individually. So that's it for the oil. Now we need to store it into something. Because we definitely want to have a buffer for this. We don't want to handle all these resources in real time here. And we unlocked the Petrochem Oil Tanks, which are much larger. See, here's 25,000 for the storage tank, but 150 for the Petrochem tank. And it just looks like it's meant for oil. So let's build 3 of them, 1 for each resource. And we need to find somewhere to put them. Oh, let's just put them up top here. Space them out a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'll be naphtha. Oh, but that pipe doesn't reach. The pipes were too compact for their own good. Might just have to kind of place them in random places up here. So that'll be naphtha, fuel oil, and mineral oil. There we go. And for now, we'll just let the system run and fill them up all the way. So from there, we need to process some of this stuff. Now, we can't do anything with the mineral oil for now. We don't have a use for it, so that's just going to collect. The fuel oil we need for the drones. Also, we can burn it if it gets too full. We might want to have some logic for that. And then the naphtha will want to always run and fill up. So, let's work on this fuel oil. How many boilers would we need to consume all of the fuel oil? We'll do select energy. We'll do the fluid burning boiler. Ingredient input. And we'll tell it we want to burn fuel oil. And we link it. And we'll need 2.4 of these to use the full output. And since this does produce steam, but since we don't know if we're going to have oil available to produce the steam, it's probably better to turn this into energy. But we can create another set of logic for this. And we're not really going to see this in action, unfortunately. But let's put an overflow valve on here. So if fuel oil gets above a certain percent, or 80%, it will overload it and send it to boilers to get burnt off. Let's see, let's put them over here. So we needed 3 of these. So if there's an excess of 80% or above, it goes into these boilers to get burnt. However, one thing I'm going to do is mix 3 boiler steam outputs together and have a pump here. So the pump is going to take all of the output of this steam and send it down the way. So basically what that means is it's giving priority to taking the steam from the fuel oil and powering the rest of this, rather than turning it into energy. Because turning it into energy isn't that efficient, because we already have more efficient ways of making energy at this point. So using the steam for a process is probably the more efficient use of it. So let us pipe it in to these other machines here. And I'm not going to use a storage tank for steam because it's slightly unrealistic to store steam perpetually, so I'm choosing not to do it that way. But you can. It's actually a very legitimate strategy, is doing steam batteries. In other words, just storage tanks with steam in them. You can store quite a bit of energy that way before you ever get accumulators. But then if this steam isn't used for any of these processes and it fills up, then it means it needs to be consumed in electricity. So we'll have some overflow valves in here. Then they get sent to the steam engines to get burnt off. And the fluid burning boilers produce 90 steam instead of 30, so you need 3 steam engines. And we do need to get some water in here to fuel these. It's amazing how many pipes you use. Looks like our running of red science is starting to work, where we are building up some copper. And the steeratight silo is getting a nice buffer on it. Okay, we've got the fuel oil taken care of. So now we need to process the naphtha, which we take the output plus some steam and red metal catalyst to turn it into propane gas. Let's just continue the processing over here. So we need 4 steam crackers. Let's just place them anywhere and then worry about making them look nice later. We can place these fairly close together because the pipe connections aren't close together and they won't conflict with each other. So we need to crack naphtha into propene. Let's connect all these machines. It's kind of hard to see behind them on that first row of pipes, but I think they're connected. Oh, unfortunately those power poles don't reach. Oh well. I'll do them kind of crudely. Here we need to handle the red metal catalyst, which is a pretty easy setup here. Just one machine. Let's do one belt going in and one belt going back. These poles are going to make it difficult for these inserters to reach. And let's have a buffer chest right here, just to smooth out the flow of resources. Then red metal catalyst. And I'm not going to belt those catalysts up here because we don't need very many of them, and that's going to be a perfect application for the drones. So for now, I'm just going to place some wooden chests here, and we can manually input the copper and iron ore. Then some lights for good measure. And I think that's everything we need with that. So let's place this somewhere. Let's just line it up with this side if at all possible. Seems like it would be pretty well lined up if we put it right there. If we take this naphtha line one step higher, it will line up perfectly with this over here. You don't have to necessarily take something in or out of a tank for it to work properly. You can just kind of have it off to the side and it'll work as a buffer just fine. If we need to get the steam hooked up, but we can do so in a similar way to up here. Actually, it might be a little easier to have this go under here. Because we need this steam line to connect to both sides. We need a unified steam line, basically, because we still need to have the electric boilers connected to this as well. Okay. That's done. Well, let's keep doing the easier things first. Almost done with all that red stuff. Okay, that is it for the steam. So now we need to figure out how many steam boilers we're going to need in total here. So it's 166.7 plus 83.4, which is 250.1. So even at full blast, burning all of the fuel oil wouldn't produce enough steam for this process to work. Not that that was the point of the fuel oil in the first place. But we divide that by 40, which is the amount of steam that an electrical boiler can create. But order of operations. So 250 divided by 40. 6.25. Let's try to put the array in line with our water here. Put the steam outputs on each side. And link them into the main line. Probably don't want undergrounds there, because we don't want these to fill up the steam line all the way, because otherwise there won't be any room for these fluid burning boilers to fill up the steam. So we want some top-up valves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we need to power these all up. And then when we do, there's what they look like when they're going, and they probably have huge power consumption, as you can see. Almost the most greedy thing we have in the factory here. So it should fill all these up to about 80%. And now they've shut off with steam at 80%. So now we need to take that propane gas, put it through 2 liquefiers to turn into liquid plastic, and then 2 assembly machines into plastic bars. That ratio isn't very good, but it's still 2 machines and 2 machines, so I'll take it and just do direct insertion, or direct piping here. So we'll do liquid plastic. And I'll disconnect that, just so we can see how it works one step at a time. And then plastic bar. And finally, our output of 2 plastic bars. Not much, but I wasn't really doing this for the purpose of setting up plastic bars, so I don't really terribly mind that the output is slow. And let's just have it go there for now. The output is slow enough where that's another good application for the drones. 2 items a second is pretty slow. I think drones could easily handle that, and that just saves us. Like, I really want to use drones to get rid of all these long belts going everywhere. At least the ones that are fairly low priority, that don't have many resources going through. Just to make the factory look a little cleaner. And that's most of it. We do need to seed this with metal catalyst and all of that. But other than that, it's about ready to go. I don't know how many catalysts we're going to need. And let's grab 2 stacks each of iron and copper. Oh, there's no room. Let's see, let's disconnect the naphtha there. Copper, iron. Let's see how many metal carriers we need to basically fill up this whole line. And probably have an extra, I don't know, 100 or something like that in there. Let's see, that's pretty good. So let's put 100 in there. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. Can fire all this up and see what happens. So first we need to hook up the oil sands. I do see a problem where the system is filling up to 80%, but then this overflow valve expects it to be over 80%. So let's put a pump in there with a circuit condition. And actually, this is a little weirder because we don't have a tank to use the circuit condition for. So we can use this inspector valve here. It's basically a very small tank where it holds 1,000 resources. And we can hook up a circuit condition directly to it. And let's say if steam is over 60% or 600. Because we basically do always want to use steam to mine stuff. So if it's over 60%, it will use steam mining. If it gets under 80%, it will be topped off by the electric boilers. And if fuel oil gets above 80%, it will burn it off in fluid burning boilers. However, if there is any room in the system at all for steam, it will put it in the system as steam. But if not, it will send it to the steam engines to get converted into electricity. That's kind of how that whole logic system works. So now that that's connected, it's pushed all the steam through there, and everything's good. Okay. Oil sands connected. I do notice that these are connected on both sides. It's probably not necessary. But that is a lot of stuff happening. I wonder if we should have a crude oil tank as a buffer. Probably. But there goes all of the residuals, and we're going to collect a lot of it very quickly. Okay, let's do a crude oil tank. Let's not do a big one. Because they do have the left and the right sides independent of each other. So because of that, I'll use these smaller inline ones. I'll just put them right there. So there they go. Happily working away, filling up our crude oil. There's the electric boilers running some of the time. And yeah. Oh, I missed a connection here. Actually, we could just do this. There we go. Gotta get everything hooked up. And, although we don't have enough regular miners for this output, the infinite miners produce a great deal of resources. Like, look at this one miner. It's basically, like it says, it's 69.9 per second, so it's filling up its entire half of the belt just instantly and easily. Like, look at that one. So we have a great deal of resources here. But it looks like it's pretty efficient. Things are going nicely. So let's hook up the crude oil. It's going to fill up very quickly with residuals, for sure. And slowly gaining naphtha, fuel oil, and a tiny bit of mineral oil. So you look at the balance here, is that most of what we're going to produce is naphtha. So mineral oil will build up slowly, but sooner or later it will clog. But we'll just have to play it by ear and see what happens. Well, that's going pretty well. I wonder what the electricity usage is like. It's not too bad right now. And let's hook up naphtha, which is going to produce our propane. Don't really need to have a tank for this. I mean, well, honestly, having a buffer tank at regular intervals is not the worst idea. So I'll have a small one. These small inline tanks are quite nice from Angels. Just a nice, convenient way of making sure that you don't have any buffer issues. So looking good. So we'll hook this up right here. And we'll get some plastic bars. There we go. Plastic bars are good. Well, I'm pleased with this. Everything seems to be running fairly efficiently. We're building up our fuel oil. Well, the next step here is to use that fuel oil and power some drones. But that's going to have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.